ancient words, titles, names of people, and locations. They all have some meanings and try to tell us something. More often, due to our lack of knowledge and understanding, we make up stories about each of them before we realize that we have made a total mess on the whole, and truth is not on our side anymore. Recently, I was mulling over the names of the 4 Vedas of Hinduism, namely Rig, Yajur, Sam, Atharvan, and their meanings. Like Ramayana or Vishnu Purana that talk about Rama and Vishnu respectively. These names are also attributed to some people in human history. Since I have the knowledge of the biblical genealogy of people from the first man Adam all the way to Jesus, I was able to figure out who these Vedas are attributed to. Now, for the context, we need to know how things were in India just after the flood of Noah. Noah is known as Manu in India. The deluge, which is the Mahajalpralay, occurred around 3300 BC. Manu the Noah had 3 sons, namely Shem, Ham, and Japheth, out of which Ham the Kamdev and his family were turning the whole world against Noah's God Yahweh, falsely accusing him of bringing forth the deluge to wipe out all their ancestors. Meanwhile, Noah's most pious son Shem had established ancient India, and Indians were still worshipping Noah's God Yahweh, at least until Ham the Kamdev came to India around 3000 BC. It was possible because right after the flood, people were still having longer lifespans, and the Bible states that Shem lived another 502 years after the flood. Ham, who came to India from Egypt, started to influence the people and tried to take away the government from Shem. By the way, Shem is the King Bharat of India, after whom India is called Bharat even today. Now, these are not just stories, my friends. You can read about it in Jain literatures. As well as this is when Shem's ally Dionysus came to India on chariots drawn by cheetahs even before the horses were domesticated by Lucifer the devil for their use upon the earth. Dionysus was the one who booted out Ham from Egypt, and he came pursuing him to India to fend off Ham and his evil men called aboriginals from the Indian soil. Now, in the days after the flood, sacrificing animals as propitiation for sins to God was a big thing. The rituals and praises associated with them are not something that any common man can do. So, patriarchs who could do it well were kept in high esteem. For example, Noah was called Vogijas Saga, which meant a mighty sacrificer. In India, Shem was the patriarch. He was also known as Saman. The Tamil literature Kalitogai mentions Ham and Shem as Kaman and Saman in many places. So Samaveda must have been named after Shem. Maybe what we find in Samaveda is based on what Shem said and did during those sacrifices. And Shem being the first generation of humans after the flood, this must be ranked the first of the 4 Vedas. Now, the second in my opinion must be Yajur, because it sounds like the biblical Asher, also mentioned as Yashar, like in Yashar Arafat. He was the son of Shem, who left his original faith and joined the opponent ranks with Nimrod, who is Shiva of the Hinduism. You can read it in the book of Genesis. Then Rig Veda should come third. Do you know why? After Shem's death, Ryu, known as Raghu by the Indians, was the most popular ruler of ancient India. This is why they latched the African Kushite ruler Rama with King Raghu as his great-great-grandfather in order to add legitimacy for his rule in India. And the fourth must be Atharvan Veda, because the word Atharvan means a way or a procedure. These are bits and pieces of information regarding many things, which even include witchcraft, exposing Hinduism's connection with the Lucifer's realm. Leaving that aside, I would like to say something about Vedas in general. Vedas admit that there is sin and propitiations have to be made to deal with that. At the same time, it also reflects on the futility and the incompleteness of all our human efforts to crush out sin. It talks about Prajapati, who will be a sacrifice to mankind's sins. It also declares that God himself will provide a sacrifice in many passages. It was a well-known ancient expectation. About 1,000 years later, when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac in order to test how strong his faith was, Abraham, in all his anguish, prophetically repeated the same belief, saying, "The Lord himself will provide a sacrifice animal." That sacrifice is Jesus the Christ, my friends. Make him your personal savior. Your soul will be safe in his hands for eternity. Thanks for watching.